Good morning. I told y'all I wasn't going to come back and talk to y'all when I just got off work, right? I said I was going to go ahead and get in the bed. I was going to stop coming on here when I got off work, but I'm here. And I think that it's important that I be here because these have been topics that I have been avoiding. Like I have been, ducking and dodging because I have been trying to protect my mental health, but I do understand that it is a part of my duty to inform you all of some things that are going on in the nurse world and healthcare in general so that we can all try to make a difference in how we treat one another and how we show up for one another in the workplace. Now, I have been, as I said before, trying to duck and dodge all of these conversations. Like, I have been at home in my bed, dang near crying because of the stuff that's going on. I have been able to see myself in certain people's situations. So now I'm here to get with y'all and just divulge some news to y'all. So, here are some of the topics that we're going to talk about today. One of the biggest topics is this mafia business. Like, and I hate to say it, y'all, because I done met some cool Filipinos, but the Filipino mafia that has been driving people out of hospitals, monopolizing some of these units and making them their own. And if they see somebody that don't look like them, they push them out. I got to talk to y'all about that, and I have a story of my own. In addition to that, I'm going to talk to y'all about the young lady who is being used as the community as a general consensus has said a human incubator and what that looks like in medical ethics. And so we're going to get right into this episode. I think those are the only two things that I'm going to talk about because they're both very heavy subjects. I'm just getting off work, but I will be bringing y'all more new subjects in the future. So y'all, I'm trying to figure this whole thing out and how I can do screen shares and stuff with y'all because this is very new to me. But I'm going to try to share this with y'all so that you can see what this nurse says. So I want to get into that for y'all. So we're going to share this. And let's give the credit where credit is due. This is APRN Beauty.
So there's a nurse in California that's suing a hospital for racial discrimination. May I add that she's a fresh new nurse. She hasn't even been at bedside for 6 months. And she decides she wants to sue one of the most prestigious hospitals in the country because right before you actually learn how to become a real nurse, that's when you should sue. She didn't pass probation. She got placed on leave. So the claim is that the discrimination began on the first day of work. She claims that someone poured coffee into her backpack. So I'm not saying that it's okay, but
y'all, she's definitely saying that it's okay. Her tone, her mannerisms, the way that she is completely disregarding this woman's feelings, her emotions, and this lawsuit. And in addition to that, trying to make it seem like this doesn't happen or it's okay that it happens. Like when she says she didn't even pass probation, she's not talking about the 90-day probation, y'all. She's talking about hazing. She's talking about the probationary period in which old nurses like to eat their young. And in this case, if this is a full unit of people who are the majority on a unit and they are attacking minorities, that is crazy to me. But let's keep going.
Obviously, if it was done maliciously, I think it's inappropriate. She says people were mean to her and they gave her the toughest patients. And she claims that they didn't hold her hand throughout every shift. Listen, I've worked with Cesars.
All right, let's get into my story, right? So I am a brand new nurse on the unit, right? I'm brand spanking new. I get off my orientation, and of course, I'm a very competent nurse when I'm off orientation, but I'm not a seasoned nurse. So when I come on to shift, the person who's giving me report automatically is like, I'm so sorry that you have this patient load. I don't think it's very fair. Now I'm new, so I'm not understanding what she's talking about. Mind you, we on a COVID unit. I'm so sorry that you have this patient load. We tried to like offload and give you someone easier, but I'm so sorry about this patient load. So let's say my charge nurse looked like this woman, right? And I'm just now like looking back on who I was bullied by during nursing, and it was never people who looked like me. Well, let's scrap that, because I did just have my nurse bully, and we got it together. She's speaking every day. We have a pretty nice relationship since we had to check that. But as I look back on the relationships that I've had in healthcare with, in particular, Filipino nurses, I have recognized a few things. And so let me get back into this story, and then I'm going to trickle off into some other areas too, because it has been happening over and over and over again. I've been seeing this happen over and over and again. And they have been driving people off units unbeknownst to a lot of you. So I get this heavy load of patients, and I have a patient over here that needs me. I have two other patients, and I'm on a ICU PCU for COVID patients. I have a patient who's pulling off his mask. He don't want to keep it on. I have a patient who need me right now, and I haven't even had the chance to get out of the room to help my other patients. So my charge nurse, I'm asking her, I gave a med, and I'm asking her, hey, can I go check on my other patients? Mind you, I'm fresh off orientation. So I'm still feeling like I need to ask for certain things, right? I'm still looking for my hand to be held a little bit, because I am day one off of orientation. And on top of that, y'all gave me the hardest assignment on the unit, right? So I'm like, okay, hey, can I go and check on my other patients? She said, no, you can't go check on your other patients. You have to make sure that this patient is okay. And I'm like, well, can you go check on my other patients? No, I can't. So I have two other patients who are looking for me to come, give them meds, make sure they're okay. And you are holding me hostage in this room, right? Um, in general, this story does not end well. I'm not going to continue to go into this story, but just know it was an extremely traumatic experience for me as a brand new nurse. Um, it was terrible. It was a terrible experience for me, especially that being my first day off of orientation, where they feel like, you're competent. And this was one of the issues I had on that unit anyway, is that because I showed up, because I did the work, they automatically assumed that I knew everything. And this is where I feel like a lot of you new nurses have to advocate for yourself. When you feel like you don't know something, do not let them push you off orientation early. You don't know it. You don't know it because you don't know it. It is okay. You haven't seen all the disease processes. You haven't gone through all the other things. You haven't gained your critical thinking skills. And people like this expect for you to already come with that. Even though they have been in on this same unit for, I think they said 12 years. You have been on the same unit for 12 years. You have 12 years ahead of me on the game. And you're telling me when you first started out, you knew everything there was to know. Now let's get into, I'm gonna finish this out, and then I'm gonna continue with you, because I'm gonna show y'all every point in which I have had or seen encounters with Filipino nurses where they are mistreating people, bullying people, and trying to create competition between people. Let's go.
And nurses who had to prove themselves for many years, and they certainly didn't receive a welcome parade when they first started in nursing. The truth about nursing is you show up, you hustle, you grow up, and you grow a spine. And while she was crying about being set up for failure, I'm sure that her patients weren't getting the appropriate care needed. Seriously, this type of healthcare lawsuit doesn't make healthcare any better. It's just a distraction.
I think there should be more healthcare lawsuits like this, but not in her case in particular, because you have to be fired technically to file these types of lawsuits. I think that you should be able to file these types of lawsuits while you're still while you're still working. When you're encountering the bullying, when you're seeing that you're being discriminated against. That is why I tell everybody I know, document, 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 email, 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 because of things like this. You see how nonchalant she is. Do you see how she doesn't care about anybody's feelings, emotions, whatever? And she's saying that she's giving appropriate care. I doubt it. I doubt it, because I've seen nurses that are just like her. And I've seen that they do half of the work.
From the true situations that we have in healthcare, like the understaffing and the underfunded public hospitals.
The understaffing and the underserved public hospitals are what breeds people that are like this, right? You're understaffed, you're angry with everybody, you're snappy, you don't have time to eat, you don't have time to drink, you don't have time to even use the bathroom. Y'all all angry with each other because you're understaffed. That is a large issue, but it does breed these other issues off of it, and we're not going to bypass that. We are not going to bypass that. Y'all want to bypass the fact that y'all are bullied so bad that you are upset that somebody placed a lawsuit. This lawsuit ain't got nothing to do with you. If we be honest, the lawsuit ain't got nothing to do with this person personally, unless she was one of the people that poured some coffee into this girl backpack. But I don't know if she had anything to do with this. I don't think she had nothing to do with this. But she taking it real personal.
But nope, let's go viral over a cup of coffee.
Okay. You see how she has this on her cup, this emotional distress. Y'all, I'm not gonna do what I wanna do. Cause they've been trying to take care of it at my job, right? But there was a policy placed in my job that was similar to this, talking about emotional distress and kind of making people feel uncomfortable with reporting things. And so when you have people that are like this, run. Either you run for the hills or you're going to stick it out. You're going to be 10 toes down and you're going to change the unit, right? Either you're going to be the change maker on the unit, or you're going to fall into the trap of being there and being and suffering if you're around people like her. Now, with me, I can hold my own, right? I can hold my own. It took me a while to get here, but you're not going to yell at me. You're not going to treat me any kind of way, and you're not going to create contention with me and somebody else over something that's imaginary. So I did say that I was going to go into depth about other situations that I've seen where Filipino nurses have created contention. So just last week, y'all, I'm at work. I'm a charge nurse, right? And so I'm running the OR. So one of the things that the charge nurse for the OR does is that we run multiple departments at night because you don't have everybody there. So one of the things that I do is I call people in whenever we have a trauma come in. That means that I also have to call the other department to come in and recover the patient. So I call these people in. They questioning me. I already give them the lay of the land as soon as they call. I tell them, hey, this doc has this type of case and I'm calling you in, right? I'm giving them the meat and potatoes. But then they go into, well, I need to eat. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to do this. And granted, I understand that you have worked all day long, but a part of working in the OR is called. A part of working in the OR is called. That's one of the responsibilities that you have. So recently I had a Filipino nurse who called me semi yelling. I had this patient earlier and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, hey, it's up to anesthesia to make sure that if they want to come to you all, that you all hang tight so that if we come to you, you're available. If we go back up to the floor, that's another thing. But if we come to you, you should be available just in case. And that's anesthesia's call, not mine. That's the provider's call, not mine. But it's continuously going on and on and on. That is not a decision for me to make. I'm sorry to you, but it's not a decision for me to make. Right? And so she gets off the phone with me, girl. She called an anesthesiologist. Like, going off, going off. You have the balls to call a provider who will know what they want to do with their patient. And although I know that you want to explain that you've seen this patient today, it's a way to do it. Y'all doing all this yelling, screaming, doing all these other things. It's ridiculous because it creates things like this, right? Y'all, as I am thinking back on my experience with, oh my gosh, it's so many experiences that I can recall that are so dangerous in nature. Okay, so when I first started out, it wasn't me. They ran another girl off of the unit. So when I first started out in the OR, we came in as a residency program, and it was me and another young lady. She was Black as well, and so whenever she would go to certain rooms, she had been in med surg for so long that it was kind of hard for her to pick up the grasp of being in the OR. Of course, with me, I wipe the slate clean, and then I go in with an open mind, and I catch on to things easier than most people. But I remember there was a guy, a Filipino guy, and he ended up like trying to create imaginary beef with us. So he would say things like, you are good at this, like you're winning. I said, it's no competition between me and her. She's doing her job, I'm doing my job, but there's no competition between me and her. He was like, in the residency programs, there's always somebody who rises to the top and you're rising to the top. And while he may have seen that as a compliment to me, I didn't see that as a compliment to me. I saw that as you trying to build contention and uneasiness in the OR. And it's already not an easy place. Now, not only did he run her out of the OR, he also ran somebody else out of the OR. So much so to the point where she ended up leaving the whole system. She's doing a very, very great job now. I keep up with her. She's doing an amazing job. She's now getting her master's degree, and she's still in the OR. And he was like, she was terrible at her job. He was mistreating her. He was making her feel like she wasn't able to, understand what she was doing. He was doing the absolute most. And I think because I don't show up as a very emotional person in the OR, like I'm very stoic, I wear my mask. You really can't tell my emotions by my eyes. But I think that because I come in, I do my job, I ask questions, and I leave it at that. I don't show that I'm insecure about the job, but I think that when you show that you're insecure just a little bit, they start to prey on you. And I think that's not good, because when I say that, so many great nurses are leaving the bedside, or leaving the OR, or leaving healthcare in general because of how people mistreat them. Because it's not an easy thing to go to work every day and deal with stuff like this. Talking about a cup of coffee. Y'all poured a cup of coffee in her bag, in her personal belongings. And you think that it is okay to treat people like this. So as I said, either you're going to be on this unit and you're going to endure all of the harassment, all of the mistreatment, or you're going to be the change maker. And when I say the change maker, I say that because this happened last week, right? I get to work, and I'm sitting there, me and another coworker, we're talking, and we're like, oh, we're gonna go to Starbucks, grab a Starbucks drink before we go, before we get the night started. And as I'm saying that, our printer goes off. That means that we are either getting an add-on case, or we're getting a case that's coming in, an emergent case. I just get off the phone with the person that has the phone. I ask him where he is. He says he's in the OR, but he's not showing up anywhere. Then on top of that, we get this emergent case that just came off the printer, and I'm like, okay, we mobilized the team. I have no idea what's going on with the case because I don't have the phone. So I just go ahead and I mobilize the team because I see what type of case it is. I get everybody mobilized. I get them in the room. I get everybody pretty much called, except for the people who I think that he may call if he got the initial phone call. So 15 minutes pass by, I don't see him. And so, like, we have 30 minutes to get a case, right? I don't know what their ETA is. I don't know if they're in the ER. I don't know if they're coming from another hospital. I don't know anything about this patient. I don't know anything. I just know I know what case it is, and I know we need to get the room set up because I have no idea because he has the phone. So he moseys on around the corner with the phone, shuffling, and I'm like, okay, so what's going on with the case? Like, what case? What's going on with the case? What's the ETA? Okay. And so he's like, you know, the ETA is this. I said, from what time did he call you? Because that is a very valid question. If the ETA is 15 to 30 minutes of the patient getting there, and I'm just now seeing you, that means that the patient could be coming up any minute. Um, if the ETA is an hour and he called you 15 minutes ago, that means it's a 45. You get what I'm saying? I need to know when the patient is coming here because you're leaving. I'm here. And in situations like this, he does not help with anything. He'll end up like just handing me the phone, going on about his business. But I had to question him. I said, look, I said, it's a communication thing. I really need for you to communicate better because this isn't the first time that this has happened. I need for you to let me know, like, I had just gotten off the phone with you. So you could have just called me back and said, hey, this doctor has this case coming and it's going to be here in blank amount of time. But you didn't do that. And I need for you to communicate that to me so that we can have everything going. I was like, because we almost left the unit. Had we left the unit, we would have been coming back to a patient coming here and we would have had no idea. And he was like, well, I was going to get the rooms and stuff ready, blah, 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 blah. No, he wasn't. He never does. He never does. And so he was trying to gaslight me when I was saying that. And it kind of sort of made me feel a little crazy because I'm having to have this tough conversation with a grown man who has been in the nursing field longer than me, but I'm charged right now. And I'm trying to make sure that everything is done in a particular time period. And I said, okay, so did you call the resident? He was like, I said, did you call anesthesia? Oh, I text them. I said, it's not acceptable to text them. And I said, you have to call the resident first. And I said, did you call the other department? And he was like, yeah, I called them or whatever. And I'm like, okay. So, y'all, because he texted anesthesia and he didn't call the resident, we didn't have anesthesia for a little while there. Like, the patient had gotten there yet, but anesthesia wasn't notified in the amount of time that I would have liked them to be notified, right? Because that would have gave them some extra time to like get their stuff ready, decompress, breathe a little bit before we get this patient in, y'all. And after that, he was like, I wasn't twiddling my thumb. Like, he was really trying to make me feel like I was wrong for asking him to simply communicate with me. And so after that, like the next day, he gave somebody our charge phone. He didn't give them report. He didn't give me report. And then in addition to that, like the day after that, he asked for a report again. He really didn't want to give me a report then. But let's go back, y'all. After we ended up concluding that, like that back and forth, he took off his Vocera and he left. But he did not leave. He just didn't help us. He did not leave. He just didn't help us. He went to the other department to lollygag, to kiki with the other Filipino nurse, as opposed to making sure that everything was okay with us. And I hate to say it, y'all, but most of my bad experiences have come from them, if I'm being 100% honest, and me seeing how they treat other people. And I'm not saying that it's everybody. I'm not generalizing that. I'm just saying from my personal experiences that this is what I've seen personally. And if we're talking about how she is treating people, y'all, come on now. Let's see if it's some more.
Listen, not everyone's cut out for bedside nursing, and not everything has to be a civil rights lawsuit. So there's a nurse in
Civil rights. Let me stop sharing the screen. Civil rights. Y'all. Okay. I'm gonna look into the case really quick. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, I found it. Let me go find it on a reel. Hold on. I'm seeing a lot of lawsuits where nurses have been winning workplace bullying. All right. Okay. Let's go here cuz even with this, I'm going to go ahead and pull this up for y'all as well since I know how to share my screen. So, the US Inquirer states that nurse alleges Filipino coworkers bullied her over race and sues LA hospital. Los Angeles. A former Cedars-Sinai medical center nurse is suing the hospital alleging harassment and bullying by Filipino supervisors and coworkers, and that false excuse was used to justify firing her for complaining about the mistreatment. Myers, Los Angeles Superior Court lawsuit alleges gender discrimination, retaliation, breach of contract, and the covenant of good faith and fair dealing, failure to prevent harassment, discrimination, and retaliation, failure to take corrective action, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Meyer, who is half white and half Japanese, seeks unspecified compensatory and punitive damages in the suit brought Wednesday. A Cedars representative said the hospital does not comment on pending litigation. Meyer stood out like a sore thumb. Meyer was assigned to a section made up of almost entirely Filipino women who had worked together for approximately 12 years, and the plaintiff stood out like a sore thumb, the lawsuit states. Meyer Filipino coworkers poured coffee into her backpack on her first day, and in later days, her personal belongings were tampered with, according to court documents. The message of racial animus was clear, the lawsuit states. This was the beginning of the plaintiff's constant harassment, ostracization, abuse, intimidation, marginalization. Y'all, I'm saying the big words. Bullying and undermining of the Filipino staff in her section at work. Meyer alleges her Filipino colleagues subjected her to falsified complaints and unreasonable scrutiny and assigned her to work in the heaviest and most difficult patients, setting her up for failure by not giving her the proper training. That's why I said, y'all, make sure that you are advocating for yourself. When Meyer resisted actions she believed to be unlawful, she alleged was retaliated against with more harassment. She was put on leave for 2 days before her 6-month probationary period was up, and she was terminated based upon an allegedly falsified time recording policy violation, which she says was different from the policy given to her previously, the suit states. Meyer maintains the allegedly discrimination conduct she suffered violated Cedars' own policies that forbids disparate treatment of employees on such biases as racist, gender, and age, while also banning retaliation against workers who file good faith complaints. Meyer contends she has suffered both lost income and as well as emotional distress because of losing her job. Plaintiff did nothing to create the extremely stressful situation that the defendants caused her, according to the lawsuit, which does not state the year she was fired. So, y'all, let me stop sharing that. So, y'all, like I said, it doesn't matter what race you are. When you are a minority on a unit, you can be um racially profiled, you can be treated a certain type of way. When you are the minority on the unit, it happens all the time. It happens all the time. And being the minority, I've dealt with it several times. Y'all, I should have been there filed me lawsuit, but I haven't. I haven't. And I hope to not have to, because it's sad that things like this have to happen in order for people to stop doing what they're doing. And I hope that the lady in that last in that Instagram video from APRN Beauty, I hope that she make a change in life. And if she don't, she gonna buy her business. She don't need to be at bedside. She don't need to be causing people stress and strife. She don't. She does not. She does not need to be causing people stress and strife. Period. So let's go into y'all. This is one of the sadder stories, you know. I really did not want to talk about this, but we're gonna talk about it because I'm gonna intro with this. So I did see on the Grits and Eggs podcast where he brought up Henrietta Lacks. And because I do have a background in biology, the HeLa cells were vital to everything known to science right now. From then up until now, the HeLa cells are still here with us. They are leading in research. They help with so many things, vaccine creation, all the things in healthcare. The HeLa cells have done that. And the HeLa cells are cells that were cultured from Henrietta Lacks without her permission, without her consent. In addition to that, we have not talked about the fact that they tried to get her kids to also donate to them as well under false pretenses. Her family was never compensated for this. There is a book out about it. Do I have the book in here? Because I have the book. I do. I actually have the book right here. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. And I read this book in undergrad. I'm probably going to pick it up and read it again just because of all the things that are happening right now. And I wish I still had my medical ethics book so that I could go through that as well. Because I'm wondering if these doctors had to sit in front of an ethics committee because of what's going on. I know it can be very uncomfortable what they're doing right now. I'm sure that the nurses who are providing care to this patient are not comfortable with it. And I actually probably feel like they think their license is on the line, because that's often where our minds go to when we have to deal with things like this. But I'm wondering if they had to sit in front of an ethics committee about what's going on right now. And I'm going to get into it in a few minutes. But I did want to talk about Henrietta Lacks. And I also wanted to talk about the lady who wrote the book too, because she said that somebody spoke to her, and when they spoke to her, they it told her, like a spirit was whispering HeLa, HeLa, HeLa to her, and then she just stumbled upon the book, right? I'm still wondering if she gave compensation to them. I think she did give a little bit of compensation to them. But I remember in this book, they talked about how they didn't have health care, how they were struggling. And in all honesty, Henrietta Lacks was actually able to find out that she had a tumor herself. The doctors didn't know that she had a tumor. They completely wrote her off, right? They completely wrote her off, but she knew something was wrong. So she palpated herself. She put her hand inside her vagina and she felt something that did not feel right. So they were treating her with, if I'm not mistaken, boron. Let me make sure. Radium. They were treating her with radium. And I'm a science person. I do not like when we are made the science guinea pigs of the world. I don't like that we are the ones who have always been the guinea pigs, the ones who were operated on without anesthesia, the ones who were treated with boron until our vaginas turned black. Yes, yes, her insides had turned black. To read this book in medical ethics, to understand what was going on, to now see what's happening, it is a very, very, very hurtful thing to me. And I'm sure it's hurtful to everybody that comes across the case. But as I said, I wonder if they have gone in front of an ethics committee, because I'm sure they probably have not. I'm not sure, they probably have not. They probably have gone before an ethics committee, or at least I hope somebody has challenged to go in front of an ethics committee. So this was Henrietta Lacks and her husband who gave her syphilis, right? I think she had untreated syphilis, if I'm not mistaken, because he was out there doing what he do. You know what I'm saying? But she knew that something was wrong. And that's where I want to start. She knew something was Henrietta Lacks knew something was wrong with her. She told the doctors over and over again, there's something wrong with me. They wrote her off. They wrote her off. They wrote her off until it was almost too late. The same thing is happening here, right? I want to pull up a news video for y'all, because y'all know I just got off work, so we're gonna pull up the family, because I just think that I think it's a nice to see the family's feelings and emotions about this. Being a nurse during COVID, y'all, it makes you hyper aware of the things that can happen to people while in the care of a hospital. And don't get me wrong, hospitals, they do great care. They treat, some people do great work. They're great physicians, they're great researchers. But there are some things that just are unacceptable. And I have seen things happen where, you know, a wife, a DNR is put in place and then somebody changes it. I feel like that's unethical as well, but they let it happen. So let's get into this so you can see it.
Atlanta mother lies brain dead in a hospital room, being kept alive only because she's pregnant.
So her case is now raising a lot of new questions about Georgia's controversial heartbeat law. Adriana Smith's family says they've been forced to wait without a voice while doctors try to keep her body functioning long enough to deliver her baby.
11 Alive's Cody Alcorn is live outside of Emory Midtown, where Adriana was just moved hours ago. Cody, what have you learned about what's going on here?
Well, Jennifer and Ron, Adriana has been on a ventilator for the past 90 days. Now, as you mentioned, she was moved here just hours ago so doctors can deliver her baby when it is time. Her family visits her every day, including her young son, who believes his mom is just...
Bro. I want y'all to refer to my episode with my doula, who is now a midwife. I want y'all to go over there. I want y'all to go look at the episode. I want y'all to consider having a home birth. I want you to consider having a doula. I don't know if she had a doula, but having somebody to speak up for you when you can't speak up for yourself, I think that's very important, because y'all, there are going to be times where you cannot verbalize. There are going to be times where you don't feel like you can speak up for yourself. And I think it's important that you speak up for yourself. I think that is very important, that you speak up for yourself. Or you have somebody in place to speak up for you. Sorry, y'all, I lost track track of my mind. But yes, make sure that I don't know. Let's get back to it.
Sleeping. A crushing emotional toll, as you can imagine. The family says it's been made worse because they have no say on what happens next. 30-year-old Adriana Smith was about 9 weeks pregnant when she started having bad headaches in February.
Enough to know that something was wrong.
April Newkirk says her
9 weeks. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. They are about to use this lady for another 30 weeks just to see if her baby survives. Just to see if her baby survives, and then to leave that baby in the care of the mom for the son to see every single. Don't get me wrong. This is a very, very touchy subject, because do you keep the baby? Do you not keep the baby? Like, what is the right thing to do? This is why somebody should have sat on an ethics board. And you know what? I need to see if somebody sat on the ethics board. Let me see. Hold on. Is this not the first thing? This is not the first time that this has happened, y'all. It's a whole article out on this from 2020 in the UK. Y'all, what? Are they just like trialing it here? But it's a whole. Okay, so let me show y'all this. Brain dead in early pregnancy, a legal and ethical challenge coming to your intensive care unit. What? Katrina, we about to look her up too. All right, let's hop over here. I know I'm doing a lot of hopping around, but it's because this is not the first time that this has been done. And this is who the young lady is. Brain dead Portuguese woman gives birth, kept alive on a ventilator for nearly 2 months. Catarina Sacaria, a Portuguese woman who has been brain dead since December of last year to give birth. Brain dead woman gives birth to miracle baby before life support switched off. This young woman was 26 years old. We're gonna go back over to the article, because this is I want to find out about the ethics of this. Legal issues around the discontinuation of MPSBD. What is this? MPSBD, maternal psychological support after brain death. Okay. Have not yet been assessed in UK court. Where is the ethical? Like, let me see. Okay, the hospital ethics committee stated that the evidence to support the decision to continue artificial ventilation was twofold: the strong agreement of her family and the father that will be his wish. Okay. and that Sicaria had not opted out of Portugal's presumed consent law for organ donation. So are they saying that since she didn't say she wanted to donate her organs, that they couldn't take the baby because that's technically donating organs? Okay. This is the second reported case in Portugal of a successful delivery of a woman declared brain dead before the age of fetal viability. And a Lisbon woman. So they've been doing this in Portugal for a while. Let me see how old her baby was. So apparently with this family, they wanted to keep the baby. Now this, y'all, really and truly, I am baffled. Let's get back to the original story that we were on, though. I'm sorry for taking y'all over the world, but let's get back.
Their daughter went to Northside Hospital for help.
They gave her some medication, but they didn't do any tests. Didn't do any CT scans. If they did, they would have caught it.
The next morning, Adriana's boyfriend noticed something was terribly wrong.
She was gasping.
Again, Henrietta Lacks. You go, you tell them what's wrong, you tell them I'm hurting, you tell them I'm in pain, you tell them all of the things, and they ignore it.
Gasping for air in her sleep, gargling. More than likely it was blood. She was taken to Emory, Decatur, and then she was transferred here
to Emory University Hospital, where Adriana worked as an RN. Unfortunately, there was nothing doctors could do.
They did a CT scan and she had blood clots all in her head. So they had asked me if they could do a procedure to relieve them, and I said yes. But then they called me back and they said that they couldn't do it.
Doctors declared Adriana brain dead.
So I feel as if somebody dropped the ball at the hospitals, and her boyfriend asked, please keep her. If she was kept at the hospital, we wouldn't be here.
And that's the thing, y'all. She advocated for herself. Her fiance, her boyfriend advocated for her. And they still were like, no, go home, you're okay. Without doing all the things that they needed to do, knowing that people do not take Black women's pain at face value. It always has to be an underlying thing. It always has to be a freaking underlying thing. It always has to be your seeking. It always has to be your dramatic. It always has to be you're this or you're that. Like you're not what you say you are. Right? You're in pain. No, you're not really in pain. You say you're paying a 10. Oh, stop the biases. Stop it. I've heard so many times where people are continuously saying that Black women have a higher threshold of pain. No, we just carry it. We carry it and we make it look good, but we do not have a higher threshold of pain. And I've heard it over and over again. Even if you have been taught differently, it does not make sense to me. You have been taught that is a fallacy. That is a myth. It's because it allows you all to look at us like we're inhuman. Oh, real humans, they have pain. But when Black women come in and say they have pain, when Black people come in and say they have pain, oh, that's a fallacy. They really don't have pain. They're really here to seek. They're really here to get the morphine. Half of the time, a lot of these women that are coming in, and I only speak for women because I am a woman. The women that are coming in, they don't want your morphine. They want to see what's wrong with them. They might take a Tylenol. Might. Let's get to it, y'all.
Because of Georgia's heartbeat bill, which bans abortions after a fetal heartbeat is detected, her family says they weren't given any say in what happens next.
It's torture for me. I come here and I see my daughter breathing by the ventilator, but she's not there. And I'm touching her. And she has a son who I bring to see her.
Now, 21 weeks pregnant, her baby's health uncertain.
She's pregnant with my grandson, but my grandson may be blind, may not be able to walk, wheelchair bound. We don't know if he'll live once she has him.
A situation she says no one should be forced into.
It should have been left up to the family because I'm in my 50s, her dad is in his 50s, so we're going to have the responsibility with her partner to raise her sons, you know? And I'm not saying that we would have chose to terminate her pregnancy. What I'm saying is we should have had a choice. We should have had a choice.
It's likely doctors will not induce Adriana for at least another month. And it's not just the baby's health the family is worried about, also a medical bill. They say that continues to grow every day.
All right, Cody, thank
Oh, and they're going to stick that medical bill with that baby. They're going to stick that medical bill with that baby. Yeah. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But to keep somebody in the hospital without giving their next of kin the right to have a say in what is going on with that person, I feel like that in itself, I'm mind boggled right now. I don't even have the words, honestly. I'm upset. I'm angry. I think that the community is angry. I feel like this is Henrietta all over again. Yes, they're going to make some progress in science. Yes. They've already made some progression in science as it is when it comes to maternal pregnancy while brain dead, as we saw in Portugal. But in all honesty, looking at this situation, we're not safe. You know, people wonder why I had a home birth. People wonder why I breastfed. There are certain things that I've seen, that I've heard, that I didn't want to actually have to deal with. Now, there are some people who have to go to the hospital, and if you have to, go. Go. If you have to, go. Take your doula with you. Have you somebody there to advocate for you at all times. Have you an emergency plan. Have you a birthing plan. She was very early on in her pregnancy too. So even if she wanted to get all of that stuff in place, she just hadn't done it yet. She didn't have to. She was early in her pregnancy, y'all. And now she has passed away because people do not freaking listen. And in them not listening, they have had a hand in what is wrong with her now. And they don't care. The higher ups, the people who are doing the research, the ones who are like, yes, the research. Because I'm sure they're like, yes, the research. I saw a movie recently of these people putting these people on an island, and they sped up time. And when they sped up time, these people were dying, but they all had different illnesses. And they were giving them like different medications to try to see how long they would live. And they sped up time so fast to where they realized that they had come up with so many good medical treatments. So they were doing this and testing this on people over and over again. They were having parties watching these people eat each other, beat each other up, die in a matter of 48 to 72 hours because they had sped up time so fast that it was only over a 3-day period. But they were making so many scientific like breaks. They were like, okay, we did great. She didn't have a seizure in 35 days and up 10 hours. So we can use this med. That's how it is for real. That is how it is for real. Like, you're extremely happy to make this break in science, to write your research paper, to get the science out there, to try to lead in scientific research. Portugal already did it twice. I don't know who else has. I don't know who else has, because I'm sure they have. Portugal has already done it 2 times. This may not be the first time that the US has done it. Let's just be honest. This may not be the first time that they have done it. This might be the first time that it has been broadcasted and that we are angry about it. So, yes, it's somebody in the higher ups like, yes, research. But what about morals? A lot of those people don't have morals. And sitting them in front of a ethics committee is not going to change their minds. It's not. And they're especially not going to have empathy for somebody who doesn't look like them, for somebody who they probably deemed as not being a person. We just got to be honest about it. Just because we deem ourselves as people now doesn't mean that they look at us as human. And that's the sad part about it. That's the very, very sad part about it, is that they may not see us as human. And it's a reality, y'all. You got to think about it. It hasn't been that long since people owned people who look like us. It hasn't been that long. As much as they try to make it seem like it was that long ago, my grandparents lived in the slave quarters. That means that their parents were slaves. That means my great grandparents either were kids during slavery, or they were slaves, or indentured servants. We got to keep it a buck, y'all. And I really did not want y'all. I did not want to get into this, but we have to. We got to talk about it. So with that being said, y'all have a great day. Bye. I'm going to sleep.